I was excited to host an anniversary dinner party for our third wedding celebration. Jessica and I had planned everything perfectly. Our guest list included her best friend from college, Amanda, and her fiancé, Tyler. Amanda had always been a bit of a challenge for me, but I wanted to make Jessica happy. The table was set, the wine was poured, and I genuinely believed we were in for a wonderful evening. Little did I know how drastically things would change. Before I tell you how I handled my wife's disrespectful best friend, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever dealt with someone who always excuses bad behavior by saying, "That is just how they are." Jessica and I met 4 years ago at a marketing conference in Boston. She caught my attention immediately, not just because of her beauty, but her infectious laugh that filled the room. At 28, she worked as a digital marketing specialist for a well-known retail brand. Her outgoing personality complemented my more reserved nature, and within a year of dating, I knew she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. Our wedding was small, but perfect. We settled into a comfortable routine in our apartment, saving for a house while building our careers. I worked in financial planning, helping clients secure their futures while working toward partnership at my firm. Life was good, and I felt fortunate to have found someone as supportive and loving as Jessica. There was just one complication, Amanda. At 29, she worked as a styling consultant for a high-end fashion magazine. She and Jessica had been inseparable since their freshman year of college. Amanda was what people politely describe as brutally honest, but what I would call unnecessarily cruel. She had a sharp tongue and seemed to enjoy using it, especially on me. Tyler, her fiancé, was her opposite in many ways. At 31, he worked as a software engineer for a tech startup. Quiet and accommodating, he seemed to have endless patience for Amanda's behavior, often placating her when she became particularly difficult. They had been engaged for nearly a year, with a wedding planned for the following summer. From the beginning, my interactions with Amanda had been strained. Jessica insisted we all get along since Amanda was such an important part of her life. I tried repeatedly, but Amanda seemed determined to find fault with everything about me. The first incident occurred 6 months after Jessica and I started dating. We were at a trendy Italian restaurant celebrating Jessica's promotion. When I suggested ordering the calamari appetizer for the table, Amanda rolled her eyes dramatically. "Really, Chris, calamari is so basic." I guess that is what happens when you grow up in a small town with no culture. Jessica used to date a chef, you know. David had such refined taste. She smirked, taking a long sip of her wine while staring directly at me. Jessica laughed nervously. "Amanda is just particular about food. That is just how she is." I nodded and suggested something else, swallowing my irritation for Jessica's sake. The second incident was at Jessica's birthday party. I was telling our friends about a challenging project at work when Amanda interrupted. "Financial planning seems so boring. I cannot imagine staring at spreadsheets all day. No offense, but how do you not fall asleep?" She laughed loudly, looking around as if expecting others to join in. Jessica always said she would end up with someone creative and exciting. When I glanced at Jessica, hoping she would say something, she just squeezed my hand and whispered, "She does not mean anything by it. That is just Amanda being Amanda." The third incident was perhaps the most hurtful. During a dinner with several couples, Amanda spent the entire evening comparing me unfavorably to David, Jessica's ex-boyfriend. According to Amanda, David was more ambitious, better dressed, and certainly more interesting at parties. Each comment felt like a small knife, but I maintained my composure. That night, I finally expressed my frustration to Jessica. "I feel like Amanda goes out of her way to belittle me. It is exhausting." Jessica sighed. "I know she can be a lot, but that is just how she is. She actually likes you, believe it or not. She is like this with everyone." I wanted to point out that this explanation did not make it any better, but I let it go. Jessica valued her friendship with Amanda, and I valued Jessica's happiness. So I continued to tolerate Amanda's behavior, hoping it would eventually improve, or at least that Jessica would someday recognize how inappropriate it was. Despite these issues, I truly loved Jessica. She was kind, supportive in every other aspect of our relationship, and we shared the same dreams and values. I believed that with time, the situation with Amanda would resolve itself. Unfortunately, I was wrong. The 3-year anniversary party had been my idea. I wanted to celebrate our marriage milestone with close friends in our home. I spent days planning the menu, selecting Jessica's favorite dishes and wines. I even ordered special decorations and her favorite flowers to make the evening perfect. The morning of the party, I woke up early to prepare everything. I marinated the steaks, prepared the side dishes, and chilled the champagne. Jessica helped set the table with our wedding china and arranged the flowers I had bought. By 6 in the evening, our apartment looked magazine-worthy, and I felt proud of what we had created together. "Everything looks amazing," Jessica said, kissing me softly. "Thank you for putting this together." "Anything for you," I replied, genuinely happy to see her excitement. Guests began arriving at 7. Our neighbors, Mike and Sarah, came first, followed by my colleague Brian and his wife. Amanda and Tyler arrived last 30 minutes after the time we had specified. Traffic was terrible, Amanda announced, though no one else had experienced any delays. She handed Jessica a small gift bag. "Happy anniversary to the lovebirds." I welcomed them warmly, taking their coats and offering drinks. Amanda immediately requested a specific brand of wine that I did not have, making a show of settling for what I had offered. "This will do, I guess," she said with a dramatic sigh. Tyler gave me an apologetic smile as he accepted a beer. "Everything looks great, man. Thanks for having us." The first hour went reasonably well. We enjoyed appetizers in the living room while catching up on each other's lives. Amanda dominated much of the conversation, talking about her recent styling work for a minor celebrity and their upcoming trip to the Bahamas. I noticed she had already finished 2 glasses of wine and was working on her third. By the time we moved to the dining table, Amanda's voice had grown louder and her comments sharper. Still, I remained hopeful that the evening would go smoothly. After serving the main course that I had spent hours preparing, I raised my glass for a toast. "To my beautiful wife, Jessica. 3 years ago, you made me the happiest man alive, and every day since has been a blessing. I love you more now than ever." Everyone clinked glasses and offered congratulations. The conversation flowed naturally to future plans, and I mentioned our goal of buying a house within the next year. "We have been saving aggressively," I explained. "There is a neighborhood north of the city, with great schools that we have our eye on. We figure it is time to start planning for a family." I reached for Jessica's hand, and she smiled warmly at me. It was a perfect moment until Amanda's laugh cut through the air. "A house in that neighborhood. On your salary." She snorted into her wine glass. "Chris, be realistic. Those houses start at $500,000. Jessica, remember when David bought that condo downtown after just 2 years at his firm? That is the kind of ambition you need to get ahead in this market." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Jessica's smile faltered, but she said nothing. "We have a solid plan," I said evenly. "With both our incomes and the investments I have been managing, we are on track." "Right," Amanda said, rolling her eyes. "I forgot you are a financial genius. Is that why you are still wearing the same watch you had in college? Even your suit tonight looks like it came from a department store sale rack." Tyler shifted uncomfortably beside her. "Amanda, maybe we should talk about something else." She ignored him, warming to her topic. "And let us be honest about those great schools you mentioned. You are not exactly father material, Chris. You can barely take care of that sad-looking plant by the window." The plant she referred to was a ficus that had been struggling since we bought it, despite my best efforts. It was a small thing, but her comment stung more than it should have. "David was so natural with kids," Amanda continued, turning to Jessica. "Remember how his nieces and nephews adored him? That man was born to be a father." Jessica laughed nervously. "Amanda, stop. Chris is great with kids, if you say so." Amanda shrugged, reaching for more wine. "I just think you settled too quickly after David. You had so many options. That was when I finally had enough." 3 years of biting my tongue, of enduring her subtle and not so subtle jabs, had reached its breaking point. "Amanda," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "I have been patient with your comments for Jessica's sake, but you are being disrespectful in our home on our anniversary. I would appreciate it if you would stop." The table went silent. Amanda looked shocked that I had finally stood up to her. Jessica placed her hand on my arm, her expression worried. "Chris, can I speak with you in the kitchen, please?" Her voice was tight. In the kitchen, Jessica's cheeks were flushed with embarrassment or anger. I could not tell which. "What are you doing?" she whispered harshly. "You know how Amanda gets when she drinks." I stared at her in disbelief. "She has been insulting me all night, Jessica. She brought up your ex-boyfriend again," implied. I am not good enough for you, and question my ability to be a father. And you are upset with me. You know she does not mean it, Jessica insisted. That is just how she is. I am sorry, but you need to understand that this is how she communicates. She does not have a filter, especially after a few drinks. In that moment, something broke inside me. It was not just Amanda's behavior that hurt, but Jessica's willingness to excuse it to prioritize Amanda's feelings over mine, her husband. I understand, I said quietly. Jessica looked relieved. Thank you. Let us just get through dinner, okay? For me, of course, I replied, but my mind was already elsewhere, processing what had just happened and what it meant for our marriage. We returned to the dining room, where an awkward silence had fallen. I served dessert with mechanical politeness, while Amanda acted as though nothing had happened. The evening ended early, our guests making excuses to leave soon after the uncomfortable exchange. As I cleaned up the kitchen later that night, watching Jessica walk Amanda and Tyler to their car, laughing as if the evening had been a success, a plan began to form in my mind. About a month before our anniversary dinner, I had seen something I was not supposed to see. I had been in the downtown area for a client meeting that ran late. Deciding to grab dinner before heading home, I chose a small bistro tucked away on a side street far from our usual haunts. As I sat at my table enjoying a quiet meal alone, I spotted a familiar figure in a corner booth. Amanda was seated with her back to the entrance, but I recognized her distinctive red hair and the designer bag hanging on her chair. What caught my attention was not her presence, but the fact that she was clearly on a date with someone who was definitely not Tyler. The man, whom I later learned was named James, worked at her magazine. They were intimate in a way that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Their hands were intertwined on the table, and at one point they shared a kiss that friends certainly do not exchange. I quickly paid my bill and left before she could notice me. On the drive home, I debated whether to tell Jessica what I had seen. Ultimately, I decided against it. It was not my business, and I did not want to be the bearer of such news, especially given the complicated dynamic between Amanda, Jessica, and myself. Besides, I had no proof beyond what I had witnessed, and Amanda would certainly deny everything. So I kept the information to myself, not even mentioning to Jessica that I had seen her friend. It was a burden I carried silently, another reason to distance myself from Amanda, but not something I planned to use against her. At least not until our anniversary dinner. The night after the disastrous party, I lay awake, while Jessica slept soundly beside me. Our post-party discussion had gone poorly. When I tried again to explain how hurt I felt by her defense of Amanda, Jessica became defensive. You do not understand how long Amanda and I have been friends, she said. She has been there for me through everything. Yes, she can be harsh sometimes, but her heart is in the right place. Is her heart in the right place? When she compares me to your ex, when she undermines our plans for the future, I asked, trying to keep my voice level. You are being too sensitive, Jessica replied. Amanda is just protective of me. She wants what is best for me. And she does not think that is me, I concluded. Jessica sighed. That is not what I meant. Can we drop this? I am tired, and I do not want to fight on our anniversary. So we dropped it, but the issue remained unresolved, festering between us like an untreated wound. As I lay there in the darkness, I thought about how many times I had compromised, how often I had swallowed my pride for the sake of peace. I thought about respect, about what it meant to be a partnership, and about loyalty. Jessica's loyalty clearly lay with Amanda, despite years of marriage to me. Perhaps it was time she understood how that felt. Perhaps it was time Amanda faced consequences for her behavior. The next morning, I sent Tyler a text message. Hey, need to talk about something important. Can we grab coffee today, just you and me? He responded quickly, suggesting a coffee shop downtown during his lunch break. I told Jessica I was meeting a client and headed out. Tyler was already waiting when I arrived, nursing a black coffee and looking slightly concerned. Everything okay? He asked as I sat down with my own drink. Your message sounded serious. Yeah, well, I wanted to apologize for last night, I began. Things got a bit tense, and that was not what Jessica and I wanted for our anniversary dinner. Tyler waved dismissively. Do not worry about it. Amanda was out of line. I tried to talk to her about it on the way home, but you know how she gets when anyone criticizes her. I nodded sympathetically. It must be challenging sometimes. She has her moments, he admitted. But we all do, right? No one is perfect. This was my opening. Speaking of not perfect, how are things with you two? Wedding plans coming along. Tyler brightened. Actually, yes. We just booked the venue last week. It is this beautiful place by the lake. Amanda is ecstatic. That is great, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. You know, I have always admired how trusting you are. In relationships, trust is everything. Absolutely, he agreed. Without trust, what do you have? I paused, as if considering whether to continue. Tyler, I need to tell you something, and I am really torn about it. I consider you a friend, but this puts me in an awkward position. His expression changed immediately, concern clouding his features. What is it? About a month ago, I was downtown after a late meeting. I stopped at this little bistro on Maple Street for dinner. The one with the blue awning. Tyler nodded, and I could see he was already tensing up. I saw Amanda there. I continued, my voice carefully modulated to sound reluctant. She was with a man I did not recognize. They were definitely not just colleagues having a business dinner. Tyler's face drained of color. What are you saying? Exactly. They were holding hands across the table. At one point they kissed. I looked down at my coffee, playing the part of the reluctant messenger. I did not know what to do with this information. I did not even tell Jessica. But after last night, I feel like maybe you deserve to know. I would want someone to tell me. Tyler sat in stunned silence, processing what I had just shared. Are you sure it was her? Maybe it was someone who looked similar. It was definitely Amanda, I confirmed. Red hair, that expensive bag she always carries. The one with the gold clasp. I got a clear view of her face when she turned to call the waiter. Did you happen to get a look at the guy? Tyler asked, his voice strained. Dark hair, tall, well-dressed. I think I heard her call him James or Jamie. This was a detail I had not planned to share, but it slipped out naturally. Tyler's expression hardened. James. Her art director at the magazine. He stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over his coffee. I need to go. I need to think. Tyler, I am sorry, I said, standing as well. Maybe I should not have said anything. No, he replied firmly. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate your honesty. As he walked away, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Part of me was satisfied that Amanda would finally face consequences for her actions. Another part felt guilty for my role in what would undoubtedly be a painful confrontation. But mostly I felt a strange sense of justice. If Amanda lived by the mantra that is just how I am to justify her cruelty, then perhaps I could adopt the same philosophy for my actions today. That is just how I am, I murmured to myself as I watched Tyler disappear around the corner. Honest to a fault. The fallout came swiftly and dramatically. By that evening, my phone was buzzing constantly with texts and calls from Jessica. When I finally answered, her voice was tight with anger. What did you say to Tyler? She demanded without preamble. The truth, I replied simply. I told him what I saw at that restaurant downtown last month. You had no right. Jessica was practically shouting now. Do you have any idea what you have done? Tyler broke off the engagement. He moved out of their apartment. Amanda is devastated. That is unfortunate, I said, surprised by my own calmness. But I would think your concern would be more with the fact that your best friend was cheating on her fiancé rather than with me telling him about it. Jessica was silent for a moment. You did this out of spite, she finally said. Because of what happened at dinner. I did it because Tyler deserved to know the truth. Would you rather he married someone who was unfaithful to him? That was not your decision to make, Jessica insisted. You are right, I conceded. It was not my decision to make whether they stayed together or broke up. That was Tyler's decision based on information he deserved to have. Just like it is your decision whether to keep defending someone who repeatedly disrespects your husband. I heard Jessica inhale sharply. We need to talk about this in person. I am coming home now. When Jessica arrived, her eyes were red from crying. Amanda had apparently called her in hysterics, blaming me entirely for the destruction of her relationship. According to Jessica, Amanda claimed I had misinterpreted what I saw, that James was gay, and they had been discussing wedding plans, that the kiss was just a friendly goodbye on the cheek. Do you believe her? I asked. Jessica hesitated, which told me everything I needed to know. I do not know what to believe anymore, she admitted. We sat at our kitchen table, the remnants of our anniversary celebration still visible in the form of a vase of now wilting flowers. Why did you do it, Chris? Really? Jessica asked, her voice softer now. Because I reached my breaking point, I replied honestly. For 3 years I have watched Amanda belittle me, undermine me, and compare me unfavorably to your ex. And for 3 years I have watched you excuse it all with, "That is just how she is." Last night, when you pulled me aside and defended her again instead of supporting me, something changed for me. So this was revenge. No, this was me finally accepting what you have been telling me all along. You said, "That is just how Amanda is," and I had to accept that. Well, this is just how I am. I believe in honesty. I believe in consequences for actions. I believe in standing up for myself when no one else will. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. You should have told me what you saw. Would you have believed me over Amanda? I asked. Her silence was answer enough. That is the real problem, Jessica. Not what I did or did not tell Tyler. It is that after 3 years of marriage, I still come second to Amanda in terms of loyalty. You defend her behavior toward me, but condemn my behavior toward her. Jessica wiped away a tear. I never meant to make you feel that way. But you did, I said gently. Every time you excused her behavior, you sent the message that her feelings mattered more than mine. For the first time, I saw real recognition in Jessica's eyes. I messed up, did not I? We both did, I acknowledged. I should have addressed this directly with you long ago instead of letting it build up, and I probably should have told you about seeing Amanda before talking to Tyler. The conversation lasted well into the night. It was painful but necessary, laying bare issues in our relationship that had been simmering beneath the surface. By morning we were exhausted but had reached a tentative understanding. Our marriage needed work, and we both needed to recalibrate our priorities. In the weeks that followed, Amanda's anger toward me did not subside. She sent scathing texts, tried to turn mutual friends against me, and even showed up at our apartment once to confront me when she knew Jessica was not home. You ruined everything, she spat. All because your fragile ego could not handle a few jokes. No, Amanda, I replied calmly. You ruined everything when you cheated on Tyler, and when you repeatedly disrespected me in my own home. I just stopped enabling it. Eventually, the truth about her affair with James emerged fully. Another colleague from the magazine confirmed seeing them together multiple times. Tyler, to his credit, stood firm in his decision to end the relationship. He even reached out to thank me, though he admitted it would be best if we did not socialize for a while given the circumstances. Jessica struggled with her relationship with Amanda. Years of friendship were difficult to simply discard, but she also could not ignore the evidence of Amanda's betrayal of Tyler or her treatment of me. They spoke occasionally, but the closeness they once shared was gone. More importantly, Jessica and I began seeing a marriage counselor. It was challenging at first, exposing vulnerabilities and addressing patterns that had taken root in our relationship, but it was also healing. I never realized how much I had been prioritizing my friendship with Amanda over my marriage. Jessica admitted during one session, it was easier to ask Chris to adapt than to set boundaries with Amanda. The counselor helped us establish healthier communication patterns and expectations. Jessica learned to recognize and value my feelings, while I learned to express them more directly rather than suppressing them until they exploded. Slowly, our relationship strengthened. Jessica began forming new friendships with people who respected both of us. I became more confident in asserting my needs while still supporting hers. We rediscovered the partnership that had made us fall in love in the first place. 2 years later, we achieved our dream of buying a house in that neighborhood with great schools. Jessica was 5 months pregnant with our first child, and our marriage was stronger than ever. The incident with Amanda, painful as it had been, ultimately forced us to address issues that might otherwise have slowly eroded our relationship. As for Amanda, I heard through mutual friends that she had moved to another city for a new job. She was single, and according to reports, still blaming others for her problems. Some people never change, I suppose. But some do. Jessica and I did. We learned that true partnership requires mutual respect and loyalty. We learned that accepting someone's flaws does not mean accepting mistreatment. And perhaps most importantly, we learned that sometimes you have to break something to fix it properly. So if you are in a situation where someone keeps hurting you and others keep making excuses for them, remember, you do not have to accept it. Sometimes standing up for yourself means losing people who were never truly on your side anyway. And that might be the most valuable loss you ever experience. What situation in your life have you tolerated for too long because someone told you that is just how they are? Leave a comment below and let me know. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening, and remember, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Take care of it.